Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 3 of the Fanfiction Tapes, where you're... I left that in from last time. I'm your host today, Maya, pronouns she, her, and today I am joined by...
Dylan, the he, him guy, yeah.
I'm Jaye, pronouns she, they.
And I'm our producer, Ian, pronouns he, him.
Today's episode topic is the MTG Color Wheel. And for probably 90% of our audience, you have no idea what in the hell I just said.
Yeah.
And for many of the rest of us, you may be wondering, why is that relevant on a podcast that is ostensibly about fan fiction?
Yeah, that's what they brought me here for.
Well, so for those of you who don't know, MTG is shorthand for Magic the Gathering. Is it a trading card game?
It's a trading card game and also a collectible card game. For the purposes of this episode, we're going to focus on the trading card and lore part.
It's a card game with more than 52 cards in it.
Way more.
Way more.
Can I say a trap card?
There are actually trap cards.
Yeah, it's a subtype of the instant card. But
Sometimes
you don't...
subtype of the instant. Sometimes you do have like artifacts that have trap in the name.
Oh, that's right.
Can I
That's
use
right.
polymerization?
No.
Yeah. Weak.
You can set cards face down, though.
You can.
In defense mode.
Morph.
And also manifest.
So tell me about this wheel of colors.
So, I think actually I'm going to tell you about something else first to convince you as to why this matters. Now, something not many people actually necessarily know is that Magic the Gathering is made by Wizards of the Coast, the same company that makes Dungeons & Dragons. Now, that's a name I'm certain most of you have heard of, if not for the fact that we've mentioned it a lot on this show.
Seems like every other episode, at least.
It's very deserved, though.
And Dungeons & Dragons has had for a long time an alignment system that is derided by the community. This is the 3x3 square with lawful, neutral, chaotic on left to right, and good, neutral, evil on the up to down. And it's supposed to be kind of a simplification of, like, what types of things your character would do.
Yeah. A lot of people bemoan the system because it's like, okay,
It's vague as shit.
There's only 9 type of characters that ever exist. Yeah.
Arguably, the only like true differences in terms of the alignment are like the polar opposites. Like otherwise, you can almost justify chaotic good character as chaotic neutral or something along those lines. It's really, the lines are blurry is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's very blurry. It's not very useful. It uses really strange words, like good. What does good mean? Does that mean they do good things?
Or does that mean they view themselves as good?
Yeah, because if it's they view themselves as good, well then, like, that's fucking 80% of the population right there.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some interpretations, and this is my personal favorite way of dealing with that alignment system, is that good is just a stand-in for selfless, and evil is a stand-in for selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Or generally, the more evil a character is, the more likely they are to take explicitly selfish actions, whereas the more good aligned a character is, the more likely they are to take selfless actions, even at cost to themselves. But this is still, kind of dog shit.
I've seen people like stretch it out into a 5x5, which is a little better because you do get a little bit more nuance. But again, it's basically being used to box characters in and group characters together and say, oh, this character is sort of like this character, and we can say, they're both these. I guess a 5x5 is slightly better because you don't, there are levels to things, levels to evil, levels to, quote unquote good.
The problem with boxes is that you can have an infinite amount of boxes and you still can't fit all the people in the boxes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've had this rant a couple times before.
Yeah, but people like to try and put things in boxes and group stuff together.
Yep, it's a
The eternal struggle.
symptom of the human condition.
Yeah, monkey brain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that exact box problem is why I have a job. So, now that I've kind of given you a bit of a brief history on why this is neat, what is the MTG color wheel? Well, Magic the Gathering has 5 core colors. Yes, I had to sit there and count. Don't at me. I'm bad at math. White, green, red, black, and blue.
Yeah. For those few of you who are out there and shaking their head at the order that she just said them in, white, blue, black, red, and green. Wooburg. Y'all are satisfied. Have fun.
Yeah, okay, I did things counterclockwise order because...
Oh, believe me, not everyone understands that, the specific way the symbols are laid on the cards. And not to mention, like, Magic changed that from the initial, the initial printings anyway, so it's just, it's just... I'm satisfying the OCD nerds out there, because those are going to be the only ones listening to this. And who
Understandable.
know what MTG is.
I haven't played Magic in a long time. I think I was probably in high school last time I played.
Mm.
And before that, I hadn't played since, like, 6th grade.
Yeah, it'd be like that. Average life cycle of the Magic player is actually about 18 weeks, 18 months, so about a year and a half, and then they cycle out again.
Yeah, no, the only reason I'd played again because my friends saw so I didn't really, approach Magic with a conscious intent, so I just took all of the red and blue cards in my collection and put them into one deck.
Of course you did.
Yeah,
It's on brand.
My friends committed a little violence at me for that one.
Is very on brand for you.
It is. It is.
We got a little distracted. Oops.
Sorry.
Each color is associated with certain values and beliefs,
which also translates into the certain mechanics that they are associated with within the gameplay.
That was actually me trying to prod one of you two Magic nerds who knows a little bit more than me into elaborate.
Okay, so
excellent,
who wants to go first?
Hi. So, the fact that each of the colors has its own system of beliefs and values means that there's no universal this is good and this is evil. There tends to be some perception of that as being white and black on account of a lot of people do subscribe to the interpretation of the D&D alignment, good meaning selfless and evil meaning selfish, and those happen to be aligned with the values of white and black in the MTG color wheel. White being a color of selflessness and putting the group before the individual, whereas black is the color of individual power.
Yep. And of course, again, it's not that black and white. That's where we get the plane of Ravnica from, after all. And all of the color combinations, like Orzhov is considered one of the more evil guilds, despite being white and black. So
Ravnica, my beloved.
Ravnica, my beloved. The new set's coming out here in a few days, and yes, my pre-order is in.
Ooh.
Ravnica remastered. Anyway. So again, it's not that black and white, but that is kind of like the basis. And then of course there are like some variations in between, and the other 3 colors are not nearly as straightforward, because green is kind of like your nature conscious people, but that could go anywhere from like a poison ivy kind of attitude to like actually wanting to preserve the environment, help the environment, preserve wildlife and that sort of thing. I almost went out on a tangent about eye blades, but we'd be here all day. There's red, which are kind of like the chaotic ones of the group. they are red and blue do tend to go together a lot in terms of like the personalities that kind of flow into them, because you've got your pyromages, but you've also got your scientists and the people who are like, and your creativity, all stemming from red. It is your burn color. You like fire. If you play red, you like fire. You like to burn people. And again, that can be good or bad, because you have, dragons, which dragons have personalities in this world. So you have your good dragons, you have your bad dragons, you've got people trying to control the dragons, you've got people just trying to make a difference in the world, and like, I apologize for my dog, and people who are like, just trying to make the world a better place. The Plane of Kaladesh is actually really good at showcasing the better sides of red. There's also Chandra, who is a good planeswalker, who is the primary planeswalker that everyone thinks about when they think about red. Who is also pansexual, by the way. Canonically. I think she and Nissa are finally together.
Neat and cool detail.
And then moving on to blue. Again, there's a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray area with blue, because you have everywhere from the people who are stealing identities, stealing thoughts, preventing other people from like doing things that wouldn't benefit them. But then you also have the other side. Yes, I'm mostly describing the Dimir here. And then you got the other side, who are like the ones who are like trying to like, who prevent like other people from like negatively affecting, and people from like negatively affecting the world, like the Azorius, though the Azorius are kind of corrupt too, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. And again, people who are inventors, mathematicians, people who are just trying to make the world a better place. And for the most part, blue is kind of like considered the wizard color almost, because any wizard tribal that you have is probably going to be either, is it red and blue or mono blue?
Also, it's like, knowledge and nerdery and shit, and that's the wizard thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole wizard shtick.
Exactly. Knowledge and nerdery. Card draw is like the primary mechanic for blue, which means, and your decks are called libraries in Magic, so you are basically pulling more information out of your library to use. More spells, as it were.
Mechanically speaking, in a card game, that is a very powerful thing.
Blue is widely considered the most powerful color in Magic for a good reason.
Yeah.
It was funny, before we started, I did ask about one of the D&D characters is in a game that me and Maya played in, and I'm like, okay, where do they fit? And what was it?
Black, blue.
Black, blue?
Yeah.
Which character was it?
It was a bard and also a drow, and
Drow, bard, College of Whispers.
Yes, that is kind of important information.
Then yeah,
Professional
blue.
blackmailer.
I'd almost call them Sultai, which is black, blue, green. But yes.
Black.
I mean, that kind of fits. He did a little bit of animal shenaniganery.
Yeah, he pulls a little bit from the green part of his toolbox, but like in terms of the character's personality and motivations, very solidly blue-black.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Whew. I feel like we should wait to get into the explanation of Ravnica and all the alignments there, because we've got an entire plane dedicated to this shit.
Yeah.
Until the dedicated MPG alignment slot. Time slot.
So you've got white that cares about order and the community. You've got blue that cares most about knowledge. You've got black that cares about the individual power. You've got red that cares about freedom and emotions. Yeah. And you've got green that cares about nature. And the way that these are typically arranged with in the wheel with white, blue, black, red, green, in a circle like that, you've got then pairs of colors that are considered allies because their philosophies overlap at the edges. And you've got pairs of colors that are across the wheel from each other are typically considered enemies because their aspects of their philosophies are in tension, right? So for white, we've already mentioned black. That is the most obvious tension. But white is also in tension with red, because red is the other individualistic color.
Yep. And that can cause some crazy shenaniganery when you put them together, as showcased by Ravnica.
Yeah. We've mentioned Ravnica several times now. The setting of Ravnica is a magic setting that is themed around factions that are two colors. And there's 10 of them.
Yep. And then, of course, you've also got the factionless ones as well, just because there has to be a gray area.
Yeah.
Ravnica is actually a playable plane in D&D these days, so if any of y'all D&D nerds want to look up the guidebook, it's a good read. It's a really good read.
I have the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. I am planning to run a short adventure for the Zenaid group while we are waiting for Dylan to put together Zenaid campaign number 2.
Nice. It was actually the first physical D&D book that I ever purchased. All the others I purchased online on D&D Beyond. And I also have the map for it. It's my favorite plane. It was also the first thing that came out that combined both D&D and Magic. Getting off track again.
It's funny, that was also one of the first physical D&D books I bought. I bought 3 of them at the same time. I bought the DM Guide, the Monster Manual, and Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. And I think I bought them somewhere near, like, Trinity College in San Antonio. It was holiday, I had money to spend, and He Who D&D book. They were expensive.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, because I didn't realize quite that it was a Magic the Gathering setting for a while. I just thought it looked cool.
Yeah, if you want to learn more in depth about like the guilds in Ravnica than what we cover and like what the whole thing about each respective guild is, please go check out that guide. It's very in depth for a D&D setting.
We were going somewhere before we got distracted. Does anyone have any idea?
I'm looking at this chart that Jay just posted in the chat. I think I was actually going to mention the enemy color pairs, because I particularly like how those handle the tension between the two opposing philosophies, right?
Yeah. So maybe we should list enemy and ally color pairs for the folks that are listening to this who maybe don't have time to go and pull up a graphic.
Right.
So the allied color pairs are going to be white and green, also known as Silesia. Green and red, also known as the Gruul. Red and black, also known as Rakdos. Black and blue, also known as Dimir, and blue and white, which is known as Azorius. I do find it interesting to note that blue is allied with both white and black, which is kind of why it's the most neutral gray area of the primary colors, I feel. But I digress. Do you want to go on about the enemies?
Yeah. So the enemy color pairs are blue and green, also known as Simic, white and black, also known as Orzhov, blue and red, also known as Izet, green and black, also known...
No, that's Golgari.
Golgari, thank you. Yeah, I was drawing a blank on the name. It began with a G, and we'd already said... Anyways, and the last one, red and white, which is known as Boros. So, with the enemy color pairs, I noted earlier that there's a tension between them, and that's how they resolve them. So, with, for example, Simic, you have the core conflict of it is nature versus nurture. Because green is the color of nature, and then blue is the color of knowledge, and using your knowledge to change the world around you and control the world around you. And the way that gets resolved in the Ravnica setting with the Simic faction is that they are biomancers. They learn how the natural world works, and they use that knowledge to help guide and improve it. Another interesting blue enemy faction is the Azet. Hi, Maya.
Hello.
This is the faction of mad scientists and engineers.
Yep. It's been trapped over a color pair.
Yes, exactly. It's the systematic knowledge and research of blue combined with the spontaneity of red results in explosive insights. Sometimes literally.
Oops. Do not heat a pressure vessel, folks.
Note, aluminum bats count as pressure vessels because they are in fact hollow. And another one, the Orzhov is also pretty interesting to me because it resolves the tension between the groupthink of white and the selfishness of black by redefining self to include a small group. So it's more of a mafia type deal.
Yeah, they're kind of like the wealthy rich. They're the 1% of Ravnica. That's what they are. And the church at the same time. Somehow.
But of course.
Because, the churches and the banks should totally be merged.
Concern.
Yes.
So, this is all a lot of nerdery. And,
oh, yes, we have spent, almost half of the runtime so far just nerding out over magic.
I apologize. This has been 7 years of my life.
So for those of you who maybe weren't already familiar with Magic the Gathering and are still here, why should you care as a writer or a fan fiction author or just general fan of things? Well, the whole reason this was brought up was I saw a Tumblr post. The whole reason this episode came to be was I think Ian sent me this about
Probably.
A Tumblr user got annoyed with the way that paladins were commonly interpreted, which is something similar to Magic Cop. I think actually I made a complaint of something like that, and then Ian was like, hey, look at this. This is shiny. Exploring paladins through the two-color system. And I thought the post was neat. I'll try and make sure we get a link in the episode description for folks who want to check it out.
Assuming we can find it.
I've already found it.
Excellent. Tumblr is one of the websites of all time.
Yes, I may have scrolled through their Tumblr page until I found it, but it is basically about, you can use this system to explore character values. We've kind of mentioned a couple of characters in Chapter, for example, who exhibit this really well. You can take either solitary colors or mixes of the colors, and there you go. You have a couple of character traits you can play with, particular conflicts as well that will kneecapping that player and give them conflicting feelings, right? A red-blue character, for example, wouldn't necessarily have much internal conflict interacting with someone who is, say, a combination of one of those in black, but interacting with someone who had green or white in their build, in terms of their personality build, I guess, there would be more conflict, as that is an ally for one color, like green's an ally for red, but it's an enemy for blue. You get kind of some funny levers to pull right off the bat with the character, and for folks who hate character creation, like myself, I do not like making characters. I find it makes it easier.
It is definitely a great place to start. And going back to my blue thesis, It's my main color. Just let me be. Going back to my blue thesis, the fact that blue is allied both with white and with black also presents an opportunity for internal conflict, because how far are you willing to go in pursuit of knowledge? So you don't even have to like particularly pick a color pair to base your character around. If you want to pick like a base level, base theme, or base color to base your character around, you can still have conflict within that character based on the way that they interact with other character archetypes or colors. So I've approached that from more of an internal conflict standpoint than an external conflict standpoint, but white and black are enemy colors, and blue is allied with both of them.
Yeah, I think that is a thing that Trog points out in one of his musings on using the color wheel as a personality guide for characters, is that with allied color pairs, a lot of the conflict is external on account of each of the colors having friends that the other color doesn't like. Whereas with the enemy color pairs, the conflict is an internal tension. And I think he also points out that their common ally tends to be a blind spot.
So, as someone who's like really not that involved in this space, in this area, what is the pros and or cons of using this over, an expanded alignment chart?
I'd say that personally, the biggest pro here is that there is no assumed objective morality.
It's more, take these things as you see them and then determine if that makes your character good or bad.
There's a lot more nuance in taking personality traits versus having to conceptualize your own, like what constitutes as lawful or chaotic or good or bad, in my opinion. I've actually been kind of using this method to formulate my characters for ages, and then I will stick a D&D alignment label on them. Pretty much. Because as someone who's been doing this for like 7 years, it's easier for me to conceptualize. And also, I don't like black and white anything. I don't like having to worry about, hey, is this too chaotic to be lawful anymore or be neutral anymore? It's a lot nicer to just have that nuance built in.
This is why I usually just play chaotic characters.
I also mostly end up playing chaotic characters. Like, as much as blue is my favorite color in Magic, and most of my character concepts are formulated on that, there is a great deal of chaos to be had with that color. Anyway.
Yeah, I will say that I did struggle during our game Maya with the aforementioned character, because I didn't feel like he fit any of the 4 alignments I thought I could fit him into, which was neutral, chaotic neutral, evil neutral, and chaotic evil. Like, I don't think he squarely fit into any of those.
No, and I also think that the alignment chart is kind of limiting in that regard, unless you're playing with like a decent DM who's not like hard on this is what the alignment has to be, and because it doesn't allow for a whole lot of nuance, especially if you're playing with the kind of person who's like, yeah, this is what lawful means, this is what chaotic means. It doesn't really let you have room for variation.
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general with alignment systems, you kind of can't take it as prescriptive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though we're saying, hey, yeah, you should use this, you can use this as kind of, hey, this is some quick and dirty personality traits for your character. They don't always have to act consistently. People do not act consistently.
Oh, no.
Pro tip, people are inconsistent as fuck.
And that's another thing I like about the color pairs in Ravnica is because every guild has an inconsistency. You can have a Dimir spy, for example, in any of the other guilds, and you would never know.
Like,
It's pointed out in the aforementioned reference book that I keep referencing a lot.
well, I mean, even just like in the real world, people can say and hold certain beliefs, and then say and do and hold other beliefs that directly contradict that.
That's
Contradict?
deadly fascinating. Yes,
Yeah.
contradict. It's deadly fascinating how that works, and sometimes that means that you are interacting with someone and you're having a conversation with them, and they will contradict themselves in the very next sentence, and you're like, huh? How do you... what? But that's people, that's humanity.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too political about it, but
Oh, God.
fucking renewable energy. Sorry, folks, I'm an engineer. I get to bitch.
I thought you were going somewhere
bitch
else.
away.
I almost did. But people will often be huge fans of solar and wind, and sometimes biofuel. If you like biofuel, you're not going to like what I'm about to say. And then they're going to hate on nuclear, despite the fact that nuclear is far and away safer and cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no shout out to the hydro and geothermal bros.
Look, if you stand either one, you understand why it's not a practical solution.
I come from Wales. We have big hydro energy.
Yeah, okay, but can you do that in fucking Kansas?
No.
No, because Kansas sucks. Wales doesn't.
You're not wrong. Kansas is the worst Kansas on the list of Kansai, with the number 1 being the band, number 2 being Arkansas, and number 3 being Kansas. Okay, the only reason I put Arkansas at 2 is because I lived there for a while, but...
I still think Arkansas shouldn't count as Kansas, but...
We got really far off track. Goddamn.
I mean, you started talking about renewable energy.
Yes, I did not help.
And you were saying, basically, I like these things, but I don't like this thing, even though it's proven that it is as good, if not better, than these things I already support.
The problem with geothermal is it's too localized. You cannot... It's not a good wide solution. That's kind of also part of the problem with hydroelectric. I need to shut up because I will go on for a while about renewable energies.
Put it in the special interest channel.
You were pointing out this as an example of how people in real life will seemingly contradict themselves. Yes?
Yes.
That's where this started.
That's where we were going. That was the point.
Yeah, all the examples I can come up with are political, so...
Yeah, the other one that came to mind was Trump supporters and their claimed Christianity, and then championing of Trump, who like violates all of what their beliefs that they profess to hold actually says.
Fun fact, I learned recently that Americanism is considered an official heresy by the Catholic Church.
I also learned that recently. It was fucking hilarious.
That's what I was going to talk about. Is like American Christianity is already like not Christianity, and then Trump, who's not really a Christian, doesn't even conform to American Christianity. So it's like a dog on a dog. It's two dogs. Trump is two dogs.
Speaking as someone who is Jewish, the amount in which they profess to believe the Old Testament, and I don't even think they've read it. It's interesting watching all these people going around trying to preach that, hey, this is what's said in the Old Testament. I'm like, if you actually read the passage, or even better, Christians who say, oh, we can't understand the Old Testament. It's like, this language has been lost to time. We read Hebrew. We can read it. It's not a dead language. Thank you very much. We know what it says. It doesn't say what you're saying it says. if you want to cut that out because of the nature of the world, feel free to go ahead. But I thought it was a relevant point to make. Free Palestine.
As an atheist, I'm upset how much I've read the Old Testament. Probably compared to American Christians.
Mhm.
I have probably read more of it than most American Christians, and that's when I fell asleep on like page 2 of Genesis. I didn't sleep enough in high school.
So, like, can I just like I don't know throw some characters at the MTG nerds and see where you put them?
Oh,
Please.
certainly.
Okay, Maya, you'll also do this. So find some
Good.
characters while I find some characters.
Find some characters. Oh boy, dibs on Entrapta.
I am.
We've already covered
We
Entrapta.
already covered Entrapta. She isn't personified. She is to go further in depth here. She is the pursuit of knowledge. There's a reason red and blue are both allied with black and technically the more selfish color. It's not that she's selfish, it's that she disregards other people in the pursuit of knowledge, at least in the first part of the show. And she continues to disregard until she, grows as a character and, learns how her actions affect other people and the world around her. But it is very much pursuit of knowledge above all else, with minimal thought for the repercussions on the world, which can both be good and bad, depending on whether you're taking it via a destructive standpoint or a inventive, creative standpoint.
I would also like to point out, with regard to Izette and the common ally often being a blind spot here, since black is the color of self-interest, a common flaw of Izette characters is a disregard for personal safety and well-being.
That too.
Oops.
That too. That's a big one.
So we're all Ruby fans here. Anyone want to tell me about Mr. James Ironwood?
Oh,
He
So-
is definitely white something. I would say
oh
white
yeah.
blue
I'd
almost.
actually he would fit pretty well with the Azorius, but I think he would also fit well with the Orzhov. I'd say he's more of an Esper character, which is white, blue, black. Because of his arc. Like, he starts out Azorius, he has good intentions. He's also just very preventative in those good intentions, and very narrow-minded and single-focused, and and in the end, he only wants to preserve a small group of people at the cost of all others. Hence the Orzhov.
I mean, I think that one is just like...
I would argue, actually, that he starts as a mono-white character and eventually becomes Orzhov. I agree that his endpoint is Orzhov. Possibly the only bit of his personality that is blue at all is his heavy reliance on technology.
That's plausible, and I agree. I'm still thinking of Azorius they are the lawful good with heavy air quotes here, of Ravnica. They are very strict about their laws and their code, and
Well, he's also
and
big
everything.
on information control.
And there's that too, which is
That's a very
again
blue
Azorius.
thing.
Yeah, which again falls into Azorius. Yeah.
The thing about Azorius is that the lawful part of it really comes from the white side of that
It
pairing.
does.
So
It does. But in terms of their role in the plane of Ravnica, it does align with
yeah.
Ironwoods. That's why my brain went there. I'm not saying you're wrong. You are totally right. It's just, yeah, that's why my brain leapt to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I normally classify him as lawful prick.
Lawful prick is a good one.
Yes.
That's where he normally lands, you know?
That's good. That's a good one. Yeah.
I think by the end of the show, it's just fascist.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ironwood stands. I hate to do it to you, but that is the end of his character arc.
It is.
Yeah.
That is often something that is cited in color wheel analysis as the evil extreme of mono white.
It is. And it's actually represented by a variety of characters within Magic the Gathering's actual lore.
Yeah, but usually Ironwood is like alongside Chaotic Incel, which is Adam.
You're not wrong. I'd actually argue that Adam is Rakdos.
Very appropriate considering his color scheme, but absolutely yes. He is red and black.
Very much so. He's very destructive. He's very selfish. He's very selfish in his destruction, and he's very much after power.
But he is also very much controlled by his emotions rather than in control of his emotions.
Yep. Which is a very Rakdos thing, a very red thing, honestly.
Yeah. That's the red side. His passion is what allows him to be initially a charismatic leader in the White Fang. Mm-hmm. Which I think is kind of I'm not sure exactly what other colors, but I think red is definitely in there because there's a lot of anger in that movement, a lot of passion in that movement.
Mardu. I'm going to argue they're basically a Mardu clan.
Red, white, black?
Yeah.
Okay. The white is definitely there. I think it might depend on the individual and where you fall on, where an individual member falls on the Belladonna versus Sienna.
Versus spectrum, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, like, when the Belladonnas had control of it, I'd almost argue that it was more of a Naya type of organization, and then it kind of shifted to Mardu under Sienna's power. Naya is white, green, red.
Yeah.
Sorry. I usually talk about this kind of thing with my partner who also plays Magic the Gathering, and we met in the Ruby fandom. Keep forgetting that I have to specify the color sets.
So yeah, Adam, red, black, and not just his color in terms of his colors. Mm-hmm. In terms of his visual design, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Visual design and character design. It's really fascinating how well that ended up working out. And that's another thing about Sienna's character design. She really does feel very Mardu to me. Red, white, black. And the Mardu clans on the plane of Tarkir are very much the strongest, are the ones who are the leaders, you know? Very gung-ho about everything. Yeah. So, and she does have a little bit of white in her character design alongside the red and black. I just think it's really fascinating.
All right, Dylan, Maya, you got any others for us?
Yeah, I got some. I'm coming specifically for your cheese, Ian.
Oh boy.
Karen Murphy is green-white. Harry Dresden is red-blue.
You're absolutely right about Harry Dresden. Karen Murphy is green-white? I don't know about that.
I don't see her quite as red. She's definitely not black. And blue doesn't quite feel right.
No, she's not blue. You're right on the white part.
I mean, she's a cop.
Yes.
But, like, actually a good person.
Yes. Okay. Maybe?
What else would you see for her?
The thing is, I think she could be red-white.
I don't know who you guys are talking about, so I don't have input.
We're talking about characters from the Dresden
Files. I know. My roommate would actually be able to input on this if he were here, which he is not. He's a big fan of the Dresden Files and Magic.
So, Karen Murphy is a cop, as has been mentioned. She comes from basically a family of cops.
She is Irish immigrant family, so...
Yeah. She is, at the beginning of the series, the head of Chicago's Special Cases Department, which is basically where they stick the troublemakers. It's the department that's officially for dealing with weird shit, and on account of, the setting's whole masquerade deal where magic is real, but officially most people don't know about it. So whenever, stuff from the weird side ends up impacting normal people, the normal institutions don't want to acknowledge that, and so they shunt it off to Special Investigations, I think is the official name of it.
SI is what they're called.
SI. But politically, that's considered a bit of a dead end.
That's what you do if you piss people off by going, hey, cops are supposed to protect people, not beat up black people.
Oh, Jim Gordon?
Yeah, I think if Jim Gordon were in the Dresden Files, he would end up in SI very quickly.
Fair.
In that he is a good cop. It is implied pretty heavily throughout the series that a lot of the cops outside of SI are kind of shit human beings.
Mm-hmm.
This is particularly exemplified with, what's his name?
Rudolph. That fucker.
The vitriol in that statement.
Mm-hmm.
They seem
May he burn in hell forever.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep
He does very bad things, especially in the most recent books.
Noted.
Beat
We
with
hate
stick until
him.
morale improves.
We hates him.
Yeah, that... Thank you, Smeagol.
So back to Karen Murphy. I put her with red on account of she's passionate about doing the right thing, being a good cop. She's passionate about doing the right thing. She's passionate about helping people. And she channels that passion into being a good cop. Or tries to. And that's a very
I could definitely
Boros
see Boros
thing.
for that. Yeah. Like, she almost... From the way you're describing her, she almost reminds me of Aurelia, who is the leader of Boros. As of the present. So...
I think probably the closest you're going to get to a parallel from Ruby would be Winter.
That makes sense.
Am I wrong, Ian?
I mean, the main difference between Winter and Karen Murphy, I think, is Winter has a more aloof personality.
That's an understatement.
She's pretty aloof in the first couple books. Mostly because she doesn't exactly know what's going on in this Harry character's head, and that explains quite a few things right there.
Okay, I can see the parallels. Yeah.
God, I could write an essay on Winter Schnee.
I think Karen Murphy might actually be Naya. White, green, and red. Whereas Winter is probably...
I'd say Jeskai.
Oh, what's that wedge? Yeah, Jeskai. White, red, and blue.
Blue. Yeah. Actually, as you were describing Karen Murphy, Naya did pop into my brain, but I didn't feel like enough of authority to speak that thought.
So, and can I just question, for my own reasons, where does Nye, the D&D character I described, what are characters like him?
Shadow Weaver?
God! Shadow Weaver is either Demir or Grixis, hands down. I'd argue Demir, but Grixis does have that level of explosiveness that Demir does not. Showcasing her explosive temper. Why is that?
Oh, I thought you were going to make a joke about her death.
Oh, definitely her death too, but
I think Grixis for sure.
yeah, she's definitely controlling enough.
I'm just trying to recall her character's backstory, right?
Yeah.
Was that she believed that she could pull off a certain spell,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very red-blue sort of thing, and then that
Yeah.
resulted in...
With no safety for herself or for Micah. No regard for that.
Yeah, that's very red-blue. And then I think the results of that... But I think the motivation for that, though, was still fairly black, because power was the motivation.
Yeah.
Yep. So very Grixis.
Yeah.
Any others?
I mean, I can't think of very many characters like Nye. He got issues that not many people have. Oh, fuck, I can think of one, but it's spoilers. There's a character in Project Hail Mary that I think aligns with Nye's alignment.
I still haven't read that.
I am
Know what
going
that
to
is.
beat you with a stick. Both of you, actually. Have you heard of The Martian, Jay?
Yes.
Have you read The Martian?
No. It's one of my greatest failings. I don't have
Yes.
the attention span.
I have both of those
Right
books
now.
sitting right behind me right now.
I have 2 copies of The Martian behind me, and actually a copy of Project Hail Mary.
Believe me, I know it is a failing of mine, but I haven't had the attention span to sit down and read in months, so...
That is fair. I mean, I'm in the same boat. A couple of my friends who have appeared on the podcast have been holding me upside down, shaking me, trying to get me to read The Memory Called Empire.
I should probably just put these books in my bag so that I can just start reading them on my lunch breaks.
I find it hilarious that people bully these guys with like, oh, come on, read this book. It'll only take you, a few days, maybe a week. And I'm like, hey, give me 20 minutes for a wrestling match. No.
I mean...
Pain.
yeah, it's like, it'll only take you however long. It's like, you don't understand. I have to get my brain into the exact reading headspace for me to want to consume this specific piece of media.
Yeah, the problem is for me is that once I'm there, it does only take me like an hour or 2.
Exactly. I just need to get my brain there, which is a process that can take years. I'm only on episode 4 of Revolutionary Girl Lieutenant right now, for example. It took me years to start watching it.
I mean, I figured out a trick for watching shows, and it's manhandle someone else into watching them with me. And
See,
then
that's
we
my thing,
we both
too.
have the motivation because we have the obligation to the other.
Exactly. And the thing is, there are only so many people I can strong arm into these things.
See, I have Steamed, who I can convince to do, honestly, most things. I convinced him to show up on the podcast for the first time. It's just like, hey, you want to do something?
I mean, the only reason I watched Ruby is because JJ sat me down in December of 2022 and said, we're watching this. And I said, okay.
On the subject of Demir characters, there's actually a couple I can think of from the Magnus archives.
Quiet chirping as no one in the call has listened to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can think of like several people for whom this would be a relevant fandom, but they are not here.
Oh, wait, shoot. I got one from the Cosmere.
Oh?
You know who I'm talking about, Ian. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Do I?
Yes, you do. Think for 30 seconds on who in the Cosmere might be blue-black.
I mean, the number one name that comes to mind is Hoyd.
Oh, Hoyd is blue-black. Interesting. I would have figured Hoyd as being something red because he just shitposts constantly.
Hoyd is probably actually Grixis because he does shitpost constantly. Yes. Except I'm not entirely sure how much red he has, because that sort of verbal jousting might be a red characteristic, but it might also be a black characteristic.
I was
And-
thinking
Black characteristic.
Taravangian.
Oh, yes. Of course.
Yeah, sorry, Dylan. Like, everyone that I can think of that's blue-black is not exactly a good person.
I mean, was Nia
Well,
the
I
youngest son?
You see, I want to say no for the bit, but he did in the end do good things.
He saved the world.
Okay, but to be fair, didn't Shadow Weaver also in the end do good things?
I know, in the end, Nye saved the world, killed 2 vampire lords, and healed the entire continent. So
Yeah, not on his own, he didn't.
I mean, the last 2 he did. He killed 2 vampires and healed the continent on his own. He didn't need you. You sitting in your forest looking magical ass.
I had other shit to do.
You're sitting in a forest,
Namely, stop
talking to
my
a
home from burning down.
talking to a deer, having lunch with a ficus. Don't you talk to me about who getting shit done. Ash is something very green. Is what
I really can't think of any one that I consider Demir that would be a good, particularly good person either. Actually, granted, my association with Demir is the guild of spies and assassins and information brokers, but
It's not a set of philosophies that lend themselves very well to being heroic, considering that it is the overlap between knowledge is power and power should be used for personal advancement.
Yeah, those don't tend to mix well into being a good human being. I think they do sometimes.
They do sometimes. But then again, Xanathar is canonically Demir, so do with that as you will.
I've thought of another one that might actually be a heroic Demir that probably nobody else in this chat is going to know. Dominic Deegan from Dominic Deegan Oracle for Hire.
Yeah, that tracks.
I
read
have no
part
idea
of
what that is. But
So it's a fantasy webcomic. The title character is a wizard who specializes in divination.
see, I think the problem here is I am your local expert in sapphic media, and that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh shit, actually, I have webcomics for you, Jay, but later.
I just finished I'm in Love with the Villainous, so...
Dominic's magical abilities all revolve entirely around, seeing the future or seeing distant events happening. He doesn't, some illusions. So all of his heroic efforts have to be manipulative. There's literally a panel where he sits down, looks around to make sure that nobody's around, and says, I've wanted to do this for years, and then he goes, dance, puppets, dance!
That brings a character to my mind, but I don't think any of y'all know this one. That description.
Hit me with it.
So, I just said I just finished I'm in Love with the Villainous. Do any of you know what that is?
Yes.
Heard of it, not read it.
I haven't watched it, but it's right there. I'm like about to touch the play button, but I'm waiting.
It's really good. It's an isekai. I'm not usually into it, but I'm also not usually into school settings, so this is to me a testament to how good it is. So you got this one person who was a burnt out office worker in our world, who got reincarnated in the world of her favorite basically dating sim. So she still has all the knowledge from and she was a massive fangirl of this dating sim, like in depth, like even the most obscure knowledge, like very like fangirl. And she carries all this knowledge with her to this reincarnation, which kind of means, as one does, she uses that knowledge to affect her time in the game, and like her intentions are pure, but she does end up manipulating a lot of the situation as a result, you know?
As do isekai protagonists, literally.
Yeah, as isekai protagonists are wont to do. So I'd say Ray Taylor is actually kind of Demir, because she does have all this information, and she does use it sometimes in some ways for a selfish end goal. It's also a selfless end goal. It's the kind of selfish and selfish at the same time. And I'm not going to go further in depth because spoilers. But yeah, I'd argue that she's Demir or even Esper because of it.
Yeah, typically you get that with like isekai protagonists. It's like
Mhm.
they like you look at them and you go, "That's very selfish," but also it's selfless in the end.
Yeah, this is the first isekai that I've ever like been interested in. Like I've read a couple of isekai fan fictions, but I usually drop them after 5 chapters because I just can't get into it. This is just really good anime, and I've finished the light novel recently, and it's oh my god, it's really good and gay.
It's funny.
For the sapphics in chat.
Yeah, yeah.
Very gay.
I should hope we have a couple of those,
If not, wait.
given the nature of the show.
But yeah, that's what it brought to mind to me.
We should probably wrap things up here. Ian, do we have anything today in the mailbox?
No new mail today, so if you want to contribute your own insights to all of this color pie nerdery, you can shoot us an email. Our address is fanfictapes@gmail.com. You can also leave us a comment on our YouTube channel, or you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also rate us on Spotify, although that doesn't let you leave comments, but we still appreciate that a lot. You can also reach out to us on social media. Currently, we have a presence on Twitter, formerly X, for however long that remains a viable method of communication. Maya runs our account over there.
Yes, I do. We are at Fanfiction Tapes on there with a capital F and a capital T. No spaces or dashes. It's all just like it's one word. Most of what gets posted about on there is a little bit before an episode will come out. We'll make a post. I'll shit post sometimes. Because, I mean, you hand me a Twitter account, you're going to get some shit posting here and there.
You on any form of social media is shit posting here and there.
True.
It's not just shit posting. Am I incorrect?
No. Jay, do you have any works, social media you would like to promote here on the show?
I'm not particularly active on the formerly known as the Twitter anymore, considering everything that's going on. But you will find me on Tumblr under AlphaJ071, or if you just want to hear me scream about Ruby, that would also be White Like Roses, no spaces, nothing special. My AO3 is also AlphaJ071, and my Ruby AO3 is White Like Roses. Clearly, I like White Rose. So yeah, that's where you can find me. That's where you can find me.
All right. Well, I am and have been Maya, and I was joined by...
I am and always will be Dylan.
I'm Jay. Hello.
And I'm our producer, Ian. Until next time, bye.